Do you ever feel like breaking down? Do you ever feel out of place? Like somehow you just don't belong and no one understands you? Do you ever want to run away? Do you lock yourself in your room with the radio on turned up so loud that no one hears you screaming? No, you don't know what it's like when nothing feels alright. You don't know what it's like to be like me, to be hurt, to feel lost, to be left out in the dark, to be caged when you're down and feel like you've been pushed around, to be on the edge of breaking down.
I got another story, and it's kind of based on being a hallway hero. Each of you guys can be a hallway hero too. And I want to tell you a story. This goes along the lines of bullying and talking bad about people and the impacts that those kind of things do on people's lives. Who's ever said anything rude to anyone else? I have. Parents, you're all perfect. Yeah. All right. So we've all said rude things about people, right? Why do we do those things? Don't say it out loud. Just why do we do those things? Why? It's an interesting question, huh? No real answer. Why? So I got a story to tell you. There's this little boy. He's a young little boy. And this little boy was over at his grandma's house. And his grandma's niece came over. Huge, big lady. Big lady. And this little boy just stood there and looked at her in amazement. Just, holy cow. And he said to her, "You're huge." Just right to her face, "You are huge." And she said to this grandma, "That's a rude little boy. That's a rude little boy." This little boy, the niece came up into the house, was walking around the house. You know, the grandma was showing her some stuff. They went out in the backyard, and this little boy just followed this lady. Just, holy cow. It was unreal. Unreal. Anyways, the lady gets to get ready to leave, and she goes out to the car, and the little boy sits down on the curb, and he looks at her, and he looks at the car, and he looks at her, and he looks at the car, and he said, "If you get in that car, those tires are going to go flat." And it's kind of funny, we kind of giggle, you know? But come to find out, that this lady, several years later, was still impacted by that day. That 45 minutes she was at the grandma's house, and that little boy followed her around, really impacted her life, and she remembered it several years later. And there was really 2, maybe 3 comments made, and that little boy was me. That little boy was me. I was rude to that lady. I didn't know a whole lot better. I was young, but the point is, those things are hurtful to people. And they carry those burdens for a long time. And to be on this side of it made me feel horrible to hear that about her. That I had impacted her life so negatively. So, on the flip side of that, I learned my lesson. And I was better for it. So anyways, there's this group of guys though, and they kept harassing this girl. And I didn't know this girl. I just, you know, I had my group of friends, and that was cool. We'd go and we'd hang out, we'd mess around. But I always saw these guys at lunch, and they were always huddled around this girl, just bugging her. They're just bugging her. So one day I went up to this group of guys, and they were harassing this girl. I said, "You know what, guys, knock it off. Why are you doing that? What's the point? Why are you doing that? Knock it off. You know? You're making her feel like crap. You know? Why are you doing that?" So anyways, long story short, they stopped doing it. And they left. And I didn't know this girl, never even talked to the girl. Even then, I just, "Guys, knock it off." You know? And then I kind of went on my way, and they kind of knocked it off. And I didn't say a word to the girl. Several years later, she ends up marrying my neighbor right across the street. And so my mom and me and this and that, we go down to the wedding to support the neighbor. And I'm walking through the line. I had no idea who the girl was. No idea. And she says, she was talking to my mom, and I was kind of a few people back, and she says, "Are you Heidi D.A.R.E?" And she says, "Yeah." She says, "Is your son Braden?" She says, "Yeah, that's my kid. That's my son." She says, "I never told him this, but back in junior high, he stood up to me when some boys were bullying me, and it really meant a lot to me, and I just wanted to thank him." And this is several years later. We're talking, she's getting married, she's 25. This happened in junior high school. The point of these two stories is this little boy can make a huge impact negatively on people's lives or positively on people's lives, and people remember it. I promise, people remember it, and it hits them deep, and they remember it. So be the person, be the hallway hero that stops bullying, stops that stuff, and be the guy that people remember as, "Man, thank you, saved me a lot of grief, and you impacted my life in a positive way." We're going to make a promise between you and I. You're going to say, "Braden." You're going to repeat after me. You're going to say, "Braden. Braden. I promise I will never do drugs, bully kids, or disobey my parents." That was for you guys. Ever. I will always do the best I can. Because doing the best I can will make me successful in life.
You ever feel out of place, like somehow you just don't belong, and no one understands you? Do you ever want to run away? Do you lock yourself in your room with the radio on turned up so loud that no one hears you screaming? No, you don't know what it's like when nothing feels alright. You don't know what it's like to be like me, to be hurt, to feel lost, to be left out in the dark, to be kicked when you're down and feel like you've been pushed around, to be on the edge of breaking down but no one's there to save you. No, you don't know what it's like. Welcome to my life. Do you want to be somebody else?